welcome back. So in this video, we're going to be installing WooCommerce and getting everything set up so we can start working on our website. So you're just going to go and search up here under plugins, add new WooCommerce. I already have it loaded. Then you're just going to click install now. You're going to click that. And once it's done installing, you're going to click activate. So once you click and activate it, it's most likely going to take you to this page where you have to set it up and do all of these things. But you can just close off of that because we're going to do all of that in here. And I feel that's a lot easier to work with. So here you're going to see the store address. This is where your business is located. So here you're going to put your address line, your city, your country. For now, I'm going to keep it in the UK. You're going to put your postal code. And then under general options, it's going to say selling locations. So you can say sell to all countries. And then you can say here sell to all countries except for. And then you can choose whatever countries that you want to. So you can add all sorts of countries here. And just any countries that you want to exclude from shipping. If you do have physical products, you can select them there. So then here under shipping locations, this is very different because selling is what countries can make orders and shipping is which countries can actually ship those orders. So this is usually the same as the selling locations. So I'm not going to set those up. So I'm just going to keep those all the same, all countries. Default customer location. This is pretty much the location of the customer. So pretty much when they visit the site, it is going to cache where they are. So it says geolocate right here. This automatically captures where they are in the world and can view the site and it gets everything set up. So you can just keep this on geolocate. Enable taxes. Most likely you're going to want to keep this on because most countries do have taxes and you want to make sure that all of the taxes are calculated. So now under currency, you can see everything. So based on what country you're based in, you can select what currency that you want to use. So for now, I'm going to keep it on pounds again, because I'm theoretically in the UK. I'm not actually in the UK, but this is a practice site. So then you have the currency position. So this is pretty much where it's going to show. So let's say you have 10 pounds. The pound can show on the left, the right. It can have spaces as well. So you can select that. I'm going to keep it on the left because that's the default. Then you have some separators. So pretty much the separators just talk about something like numbers and how it works. So let's say you have 1,659. You can change what separator you want for the 1,000. So you'd have 1,659 and usually you'd have a comma, but you can change this to a dot or even a letter or something like that. Most people just keep it as a comma. The decimal separator, that's pretty obvious. It's the separator between the number and the decimals. Keep that at point. And then number of decimals, this is the number of decimals that show up. I usually keep this at 2 or 1. Usually you'd keep it at 2 for 0.99 sort of marketing tactics. So I keep that at 2. So we're just going to save changes right there. And then we're going to go over the rest. So if we go over to products here, you're going to see a few settings. So right here, you're going to be able to select the page where all of your where all of your products are going to show. So we're going to be setting that up later. Add to cart behavior. So it says redirect to the cart page after successful addition. You want to keep that disabled. Enable Ajax add to cart buttons on archives. So you want to keep this enabled usually. Now it doesn't really affect anything with the user and I'm not going to go in depth into what this does. But pretty much on archives, and we all know what archives are, they're groups of posts. In this case, it can be products or anything like that. You can say add to cart. So this will add multiple items to the cart, but you want to just keep that enabled. It's not really going to make a difference. So now it has the weight units. So I'm going to keep this on the metric system, but if you are based in the US, you can change this to the imperial system. Or pretty much whatever system you want. Again, there is only 2, but you can change what you can measure it by, especially if it makes a difference if you're selling things like clothes or if you're selling things like heavy duty materials, you change what your unit of measurement is. Then reviews. So you can enable product reviews. I'd recommend keeping this enabled. It's a very good marketing tactic. It lets users show the authenticity and that your product is working properly. Show verified owner label on customer reviews. You can keep this on as well. Again, it just adds to that authenticity sort of factor. Reviews can only be left by verified owners. Keep this off because let anyone be able to leave a review. It really helps. So you want to get as many reviews as possible. Star rating, you want to keep that on. And star rating should be required, not optional. This is pretty personal. Now, if you want to really enforce your star rating, now I recommend keeping this on. It really doesn't make a big difference. And plus star ratings, most people will look at the numerical side rather than read all of this text. So we didn't really change anything here. But what we're going to do is just click Save Changes to make sure any changes we did make are saved. So now we're going to go over to tax. Alright, so now that we're here, we can see our tax page. So the tax is one of the most important parts of setting up your WooCommerce, because if you don't set up tax properly, it can get you into some trouble with both your customers and other officials. So first here, price entered with tax. You're going to say inclusive or exclusive. It depends on your business model. If you want to include tax in your prices, which most businesses do these days, then you just tick that. Calculate tax based on the customer shipping address. Now, you want to keep this, the customer shipping address, because this is where the customer will enter their tax. So based on where they're living, they're going to have to pay for what kind of tax. So shipping tax class, there's a few here. You can change this based on, again, your business model. Now, this is pretty much just up to you and what you want to sell. I would recommend just keeping this on the standard, so shipping tax class based on cart items. You want to keep that the standard. I think it's the best method. So rounding, you can round the tax at subtotal level instead of rounding per line. So you want to keep this disabled because you want to keep all of the prices and everything exact. So you can just keep it like that. Additional tax classes, you can just keep it the same. We're not going to add anything else since we're not changing it. Again, if you want to add something, if you have a different tax model you want to use, just add that to the list here on a new line and everything will work. So display prices in the shop, including tax. This is a trick that most e-commerce businesses use. And because if you have a price, now this is largely dependent on what you want. And it depends on how many customers or how much persuasion you want. Now, if you are exclusive of tax, when the user sees the price, they say, oh, great, it's pretty cheap. But then when they click on it, the tax will say, oh no, it's not that good. And that kind of breaks some trust, which could reduce the amount of conversions and sales. So if you include it, yes, some customers will diverge away in the beginning, but that reduces the chance of having people who click through to the cart but then end up not buying it due to the tax. So I'm just going to set it to that, but again, it's up to you. Display prices during cart and checkout. You can set this to including tax. Excluding tax is just ultimate misleading. It's not very efficient, and again, it's just even more misleading than displaying them in the shop. So we're going to set that to including. Price display suffix, we're just going to set that to nothing. And display tax totals, we're going to set that to itemized. After that, we're just going to click Save Changes. And if you want to know what itemized and as a single total is, this just displays the tax per item, and this one just displays all of the tax combined together. Again, you can set this to what you want. I set it to itemized. So now if we go over to shipping, again, a very important part. So pretty much this is going to add a area where shipping is going to work. So it says a shipping zone is a geographic region where a certain set of shipping methods are offered. So pretty much in a certain sense, this is just talking about the different kinds of methods that are offered in an area which contains allowable shipping. So you can click here on Add Shipping Zone, or you can click on that button. So you can set the name. So this could be just a collective of that country or area. So let's say you have the Eastern United States. You can just set that to Eastern United States. And you can select the regions. So you can select all of Africa, for example. But if you want to select maybe 3 or 4 countries, you can just search through and select that. Now, let's just say I wanted to ship to East Africa. So we're just going to call this East Africa. And I can select all the countries. Now I can select things like Sudan and Somalia. And I'm just giving examples here off the top of my head. but you get the idea where you can add countries. So after that, you can just click add shipping method. And then here you can choose the method you want to add. So flat rate, which is just a consistent rate throughout the shipping. You can add local pickups. So what happens is it will ship to that area and then the customer has to go pick it up. Or completely free shipping, which I don't recommend because it costs a lot of money depending on the area. So we're going to set that to flat rate for now. We're going to click add shipping method. And you can see there we have our shipping method enabled on this area. After that, that's pretty much it. That's all you have to do. Now, if we go back to shipping and it says that I think I forgot to save changes, but there you go. You can add as many shipping areas and everything like that as you want. I'm just going to leave there. Seems like the save button is not working, but there we go. We have it enabled. So you can add as many as you want, but there you go. That's pretty much shipping zones for you. Checkout area. This is not that complicated to set up. It just has a few quirks and everything like that, such as setting up your PayPal. We are going to be using PayPal for this. But here you go. So it says coupons, enable the use of coupons, and then calculate coupon discounts sequentially. You do not want to keep this enabled. So just leave that off. I don't really want to go into it. I don't want to stretch out this video too long, but you can just keep that disabled. So for secure checkout, you are going to click that. But the only problem is you need an SSL certificate. So if you have online hosting, you need to check with your web hosting provider or support if you have an SSL certificate. And if you don't, make sure to set it up. Now, there are many ways to set up SSL, but you will have to pay for some certain hostings. For some, it's completely free, but for things such as HostGator, I don't use HostGator personally, but I feel that they will charge some sort of price because I've had lots of experiences with HostGator charging for SSL. So the reason you want to use this is because if you don't and you go into the cart, it will say this site is not secure by Google by default. You don't want to enter any credit cards. So this can cause a huge panic in the customer and can diverge him away. So first of all, you want to make sure you have your SSL, then you want to force it. And this is almost necessary because it can cause huge panic in large amounts of customers. Force HTTP while leaving the checkout, you want to keep this disabled. And there's a difference between HTTPS and HTTP. I'm not going to cover it now. It is in the bonus lectures if you want to go see it. It's just an in-depth talk about HTTP and SSL. So here you go. Now we talk about the pages. So it says the cart page. Now we're going to be setting all of these later. But the terms and conditions and all of the pages, like I said, we're going to be setting those later. We're going to be creating those sequentially and setting them up throughout. So there we go. Now check out endpoints. So pretty much endpoints are a way of sort of like keys to access certain actions. So imagine having a box and putting a bunch of gears and machines in it from a giant clock. Then what you're going to do is take a piece of tape and stick it on that box and just write clock on it, or clock parts. That piece of tape with the writing on it is pretty much the endpoint. So it's kind of like describing the process that's going on in the back end or the back scene. So you're going to keep those all the same. There's lots of interactions going on. You want to keep these default unless you have experience and you want to change them. Go ahead. These gateway display orders, you're going to keep them the same as well. You're going to click Save Changes, and we are almost done. We're going to go to Accounts now and check that out. So pretty much you can have customer accounts for WooCommerce, and this is especially useful for things such as keeping your cart items, and we're going to be setting all of this up later. But you want to make sure that you do have customer accounts. So you can select My Account page. We're going to set up all of our pages later. But pretty much we're just going to say customer registration, enable customer registration on the checkout page and on the My Account page. We want to just put it everywhere and just advertise it. So automatically generate customer password. You want to keep that disabled. Now here, My Account endpoints. Just like we covered before for endpoints, we're going to keep these all the same and we're going to save the changes. Finally, we're going to go over to emails and just see the final things. So this is pretty much the final. There's nothing about the API. We don't need to know anything about that. So here we go. So this is the email notifications your customer gets. So pretty much it says new order, canceled order, failed order. So some of these are for you and some of these are for your sending. So new order, all of these are for, or most of these are for you or your customer, and then some of these are for you. So new order, so if someone gets a new order, someone canceled, or maybe an order failed, those are all to you. So you can change the email that it comes to. You can also change the format. So it's in HTML, which means it's formatted and looks nice. You want to keep that in that version. And then it shows some customer sort of default emails. So if it's on hold, or it's completed, or if it's been refunded, processed and everything's right. And now you can see here. So you can say the from name and the from address. So this is the name that it shows when sending the email, and the address. So you most likely want to set this to your company email or something that looks a little bit more professional, not your personal. Then the email template. So this is the template that comes when sending the email. So you don't have to keep sending it every single time a customer creates something. So you can set the header image to a URL. So what you're going to do is just put that, if you really want a header image, maybe your company logo or something like that. You can set your footer text. So this could become some copyright sort of text. We're going to be fixing all of that up in the refactors in the final section, the final video. Then you can set your colors. So I'm going for a sort of bluish theme. So what we're going to do is change the colors here. So we're going to go and set it to a dark-ish blue, but we don't want it too black. We're going to set the background color and keep the body color the same. And then the text is going to be just a tad darker. All right, let's save the changes. And now we have completed everything. And I know this was a very long video, but we needed to configure and go over all the settings before we move on. And we're going to be covering the rest of WooCommerce in depth later. But now that we've covered everything to do with setting it up, we're pretty much done. All right, let's move on.